Welcome to Pause for Peace with me, Pastor Jule, and welcome to Springing Forward. It is March 8th, 2026, and daylight savings time is changing everything around again. And it has me thinking about time. A little story, true confession, no names involved. When I was in college, my first semester, I met this beautiful friend for life, and my friend never lived in a time zone where time changed, and so we had these long conversations about but where does the time go when we spring forward, when we fall back? Where does the time go? And thinking about time, we as human beings have always tried to figure out time. We did that in a multiple approaches, because the first way we tried to figure out how to segment out life had to do really with is it light or is it dark outside? In ancient Egypt, it's believed, or possibly ancient Babylon, and some in China as well, there were these obelisks that would be used, these huge statues up into the sky, and we would just know time based on the movement of the sun, and based on the movement of the moon, and based on the movement of the stars. And so it was not a very precise way to be tracking time, but at least there was a way to have a little bit more organization in a world living so dependent on the land. There wasn't a way to control time when we literally lived by the slow arc of the sun moving from east to west. And people would have a sense of, is it growing season? Is it harvest season? Is it waiting season, winter, which could be so very deadly? Is it the time when the world is coming back to life? People would try to make sense out of really what was very haphazard, pretty chaotic. And if you're somebody who is very structured and organized, living in a world where there was not really a way to keep precise time, to keep precise dates, to have that exactedness of what season is it? When is the spring equinox? When is the summer solstice? You merely would have to pay attention to nature, to the movement of the celestial bodies, to the axis upon which the world was turning to tell us, are we further away from the sun or are we closer to the sun? Which would let us know, is it the season when everything will be blooming, or is it the season when things will go dormant? Time is something that truly is able to allow us to have a little bit more sense of control over the capricious lives that we live, here, in this universe. In the 14th, 15th, 16th century in Europe, there's beginning to be more advanced ways, more technological ways to keep track of time. Some had to do with water. I've never really seen that, but I think it would be fascinating to know how water was used, probably much like an hourglass. How an hourglass, which if you're watching the podcast, you can see one behind me that is merely having sand drip through this really fine point, and kind of the grains of sand having the moments passing by and by. It'd be fascinating to see a timepiece that was used water to keep track of time. Springs got involved in the evolution of timekeeping, and eventually we get these great big towers in the center of towns where there would be bells and chimes and a way to keep track of the day and when is it time to be called to prayer. This is kind of what was going on in medieval Europe. There would be these clock towers and bell towers which would be notifying the town it's time to stop to pray. The Roman Catholic Church would kind of break up the workday and the evening in such a way that there would be the keeping of the hours. It's literally still called the divine office, the keeping of the hours, this call to prayer, this call to give thanks to God based on the movement of the sun. Like, is it the time that I am taking a rest from the toil of the morning and the morning heat, or is it the time where I am like preparing to go into rest for the evening, praying the sun will come back up again, that all will be okay all throughout the night? You know, if we didn't have clocks like we have today, if we didn't have cell phones that, on their own changed the time, like our cell phones literally can be set so that they will move with the daylight savings time or not, that they will move when we cross time zones and they'll change the time for us or not. If we didn't have these timepieces, we too would have to be living a lot more attuned to the earth. We might have to stop and notice, oh, things are like sprouting again. Like, I'm starting to see buds on bushes and trees. Oh, the fruit is beginning to ripen. We might have a sense of wonder return to us if we were so dependent upon the land, upon the celestial bodies, to be letting us know how to keep track of what is going on in the universe. So we will know if this is a time that we should be sleeping, taking our rest, or if this is a time that we should be hard at the tasks to do for the day. If this is a time where I should be preparing for the long season of winter, which in some places in the world is a lot longer season, in which the earth is tilted away from the sun and in a season of more dormancy than some other places closer to the equator. If we had to attune to time in a different way than we take for granted each and every day, we might actually be opened a little bit more to this interconnected relationship that we have with all the world, to this need to pay attention to nature that surrounds, to listen for when the birds first wake up in the morning and sing their song. It has everything to do with the movement of the sun and the release of the oxygen from the trees as the sun moves. And when the birds make their final song at night, to listen to when the birds know when to wake and when to rest. It would be such an amazing experience to be a little bit more attuned to the world all around us instead of to a watch, an Apple Watch, a cell phone, a clock on the wall, digital or not. If we had to be in this way of living, more intentionally watching what's going on around us. Some of us would be better at this than others because some of us have this tunnel vision and often are not paying attention to what's going on around us in the world. And some of us are really good at paying attention and then have a little bit harder time focusing in on the one thing. Time is a gift. In the Judeo-Christian understanding of time, of making sense of the movement of the celestial bodies all around us, there's actually a couple words in ancient Greek for time. There's a sense of the changes of epochs and the changes of centuries, but there is a way that we talk about something called chronos time and Kairos time. Chronos time is chronology, the precise movement of the clock, the precise movement of the sun. Chronology, chronos time, helps us know when we're supposed to be at work, when we're supposed to pick up the dry cleaning, when we're supposed to go get the kids from daycare, when we're supposed to meet a loved one for a particular phone call or dinner, or whatever it is. That is all chronology, chronos time. Kairos time. Kairos time is when we move beyond the tick of the clock and we literally enter into a whole different world. Like we are entering into something sacred, something filled with the luminosity that is God. Kairos time is what happens when we turn inward and we begin to meditate. But Kairos time can also be while we are out in a beautiful forest, observing all around us, and we slip beyond the pressure of the clock into something truly sacred as we watch the way the rays of the sun like come through the beautiful branches of the trees. It's like this glorious holy cathedral of light, of life that is like all around us, and we literally are in this sense of wonder and awe, and we have slipped into Kairos time. It's a whole different way of being. Kairos time is necessary. We cannot live by the clock 24/7 without having those moments of stepping back, of getting quiet inside, or getting into that sense of wonder as we commune with that which is beyond us. Even when we are connecting and communing with loved ones, this can be a way that we enter Kairos time. When all that really matters is that depth of connection that we have with our truest self, with all the world around us, including the loved ones around us, with the holy, with God. We then are in Kairos time. So as we are like in this change of time with daylight savings and springing forward, I invite us to get ourselves quiet so we can, through an inward practice, seek to enter into Kairos, like slip beyond the pressure of the clock, even if just for a few moments, and be able to rest in this beauty, awe, and depth of connection with that which is holy, with the sacred, with God. Wherever you are, if you're in a forest right now, this would be a great time to like take a seat, like literally stop movement so that you can attune inwardly. If you're in a car, please pull over. If you're like on a treadmill or running, like just stop for a few moments and just enter into this Kairos time. Get yourself comfortable wherever you might be. I'm going to prop my arms a little bit here. I like to place my hands palms upward, and I like to close my eyes. I find it easier to enter Kairos time when my eyes are closed. Now, if I'm in a beautiful forest, I'll keep my eyes open and be all about the wonder and the listening and using my 5 senses to truly connect with what is all around me. But in this time, when I'm inviting us to come inward, I find it easier to do when I close my eyes. You might even like imagine as you close your eyes that you are seeing inwardly. We're going to use our breath, and today we're going to practice what is called centering prayer. I've led us in centering prayer a few times. I think one of the earliest episodes of Pause for Peace went in depth into centering prayer. This beautiful way of praying, especially powerful during the Christian season of Lent, as we're being called into this way of being that we are seeing in the life of Jesus, who is teaching us how to release more and more and get centered truly in ourself so that God's will for our life can be done. It's a practice of letting go. So we use our breath as we center. Let's take a deep breath from the belly. We exhale slowly. And even in that exhale, you might notice and pay attention to how you can be drawn more into yourself, centered in this beautiful column of energy that emanates within. Let's take another deep breath, setting that intention to move into Kairos time and be centered in our being. One more deep breath with the release to follow. You might find yourself moving into the space of your heart, or maybe even deeper. The great mystic Thomas Merton talks about the nothingness of God that is within, which doesn't mean like there's nothing within. It means that it is the finest point in us, this nothingness of God, because nothing can change that part, can crack that part, can like detract from that part. Nothing can change this finest point of the divine that is within us. And so we seek to be centered through the movement of our breath, through our intention, centering deeper and deeper and deeper into self, that we might slip into Kairos, leave behind the pressures of the day, the responsibilities, the ticking of the clock, the wondering, will I get there in time, and literally bask in the gift of timelessness, to allow ourselves simply to be centered in the holy that lives in us. So let's take one more deep breath and slowly release, moving deeper and deeper into that centeredness, the nothingness of God within us. Richard Rohr speaks about it as the immortal diamond. Oh, it's beautiful. The immortal diamond that is within us, that strength that is the divine, that cannot be shattered, that is within every living thing. And we as human beings have this gift really to be able to consciously become aware of that and to rest in this centeredness, this beautiful immortal diamond that is within, that is God. So one more deep breath here. Slowly releasing and centering more into the finest point. This nothingness, this immortal diamond, this core of who you really are, and all that emanates forth from that into the world. You may imagine in your inward eye that you are actually like seated before the presence. Sometimes in Christian scriptures and Christian circles, it gets talked about as like seated before the throne of God. And this is like understanding of like, if you can imagine yourself seated before the sovereign love that is within you, and that you literally are just taking in, basking in the glow of this light that cannot be extinguished. Might be covered up. It might be like a little fledgling light, but it is still there. And the flames of that light can be fanned as we sit in its presence and know who we really are. So settle into that posture of wonder, before this immortal diamond of God that is within you. As we're in this stillness, whenever anything else comes up, something like going on in our minds were made to think, they're going to think. And the practice in this centering prayer is when your mind starts to think, you start to release. Some folks use this practice of like literally calling themselves back to the immortal diamond with their breath, with that like entering back into that vision of basking in the glow of this glorious, radiant presence that is within. Some folks actually use a word like a release, or use an image like when the monkey, like, oh, I got to stop the grocery store, I got to do this. When all that kind of comes, all that monkey mind comes about all the tasks and responsibilities, some folks actually watch that go onto a raft and float right on down the river. Like, allow the current to take that away. Those are important responsibilities, but those are not what needs to be focused on during Kairos time. We release from those. And it's a practice we have to do over and over, emptying of those things in order to be able to be in this centered place, this centeredness within. So even if you have to exercise that muscle of release again and again and allow those thoughts to float on down the river, this is a way you're developing this centering practice, the muscle of turning inward to Kairos time. You may begin to receive something in this moment of Kairos time. Perhaps you're having a sensation within as you are in this practice of sitting before the divine radiance that is in you, the immortal diamond that is in you. Just note that. You don't have to cling to that, but you can note whatever is arising and then return to just like being in the presence of the presence. Just being in the presence. Let's take one more deep breath. And release it slowly. Now, because we have had this like amazing opportunity to be in Kairos time, to be able to be calmed and settled, I hope that has been your experience. And if not, you keep practicing, keep exercising that muscle of release, of letting go, of seeing those thoughts, those sensations just float on down the river so you can return to this time and space of centeredness. And I hope you have experienced that, even if for a moment today, so that now as we take one more deep breath, we do so with gratitude. We give thanks to this presence, this like God that is within. We give thanks for the opportunity to sit with one another, to be in the presence of the radiance that is God. So inwardly, through this last deep breath, and the exhale, you might even imagine yourself like exhaling nothing but love to the face of love that is within. So grateful for whatever has been received, whatever has been the experience. So grateful to God for these moments in which we have set the intention to move from chronos time, and move into Kairos time. Rest, rest, rest. And when you are ready, if you'll bring your hands, palms together, you can keep your eyes closed still. Have your palms together here in this prayer pose right before the center of your chest, this beautiful energy of your heart. Oh, it's so filled with the seed of empathy and compassion and love and grace, all just flowing forth from the heart. Let us bow together with great reverence and make our amen with that saying, let it be so, let it be so, let it be so. And if you want to open your eyes wherever you are and just note how you are experiencing yourself right now, how you're feeling, what you've been sensing, anything you've heard. If you are somebody who wants to practice this form of like slipping into Kairos again and again, like moving out of chronos time and slipping into Kairos through this practice of centering prayer, you may actually want to be somebody who just keeps a little journal about it, that just writes, not for judging it, but merely to make note, like, where was I? What day was it? And was this something easy or not? Maybe you know, like, oh gosh, 15 times I had to like send my thoughts down the river. You can jot all that down. You might even want to know like the time of day, because some of us do better at like entering into centering at a different time of the day, before or after the day's like responsibilities. Whatever it might be, you can just keep a little journal like that, just to keep track and note how this practice is going for you. There you go. Centering prayer that allows us to slip into Kairos time, this beautiful space, time experience beyond time, when we can be in the luminous presence of the mystery of that which is totally sacred, totally God. I hope you have a beautiful rest of the week, that you can return often to this practice and enjoy the second week of March that is just marching right on by in 2026. Have a good one. I'll see you next time on Pause for Peace.